Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode on SAP UI5 and Fiori training. In the last session in SAP UI5 and Fiori training, we discussed about route match handler concept, which is used for while navigating application pages. In today's session, we will go ahead and talk about custom controls. Let's have a look at what is custom control, how can a custom control helps us extending SAP UI5 framework. So there is one common statement which you will hear around you, or maybe you can also use this statement while using UI5. Many times people ask you question, how SAP UI5 is better than WebDeal Pro and BSP. This is also another interview question which is typically asked in many of the interviews. By far you have seen couple of advantages using UI5 and WebDeal Pro, UI5 versus WebDeal Pro. Like in WebDeal Pro and BSP, you cannot handle the back and forward button of the browser. In SAP UI5, using routing concept, we can achieve the usage of back and forward button of the browser. SAP UI5 is based on open standards. You can use different variety of controls, and the versions of UI5 are released every month, every bi-weekly basis. It's also available in the SAP SDN, right? So, sorry, in CDN, not in SDN. It is available in content delivery network, so anybody can consume it quite easily. The learning technology for that is HTML5 and JavaScript, which is easy to learn as compared to WebDeal Pro. So these are all some key advantages. The another important statement which you can use while mentioning UI5 is SAP UI5 doesn't become bottleneck for developers. So how it doesn't become a bottleneck for developers. Many times in another technologies like BSP, you may face issues. You want to do some certain things with the control. Sometimes you don't even find such a control, or sometimes you are unable to extend the existing control. Some of you are asking, Anubhav, can I change the look and feel of my input field? Can I do this? Can I do that? Yes, you can do everything in SAP UI5. You can customize your controls based on your need. In fact, if certain controls which are not part of UI5 standard, you can actually extend UI5 and create your own controls. Yes, guys, that's completely possible. And it's possible through feature called SAP UI5 custom control. So if there is a need for a UI control and that UI control is not available in UI5 SDK, you can design your own control. Okay, that's something you can do it, guys, with SAP UI5 custom control feature. Now, a couple of questions to all of you. Let's see how many of you can answer, how much you can remember the last couple of sessions. The first question is, which is the super class for most of UI controls? Anybody? What is the name of super class for most of UI controls? No, not right, Monica. SAP UI core is not the super class. It is the library. Who else can answer me? What is the super class for most of the UI control? Perfect answer. sap.ui.core.control class is the immediate super class. Guys, this is where interview, you will fail in interview. We need up to the point exact and precise answer. Some people are just saying element. That will not help in interview. This is the exact and precise answer. Thank you, Prasoon, for this answer. This is the exact and precise answer what I was expecting. You can see, guys, you can match it with your answer and find out where all you are going wrong in terms of interview. Second question. Let me ask this second question. Let's see who can answer. Which keyword do we use to define inheritance in JavaScript? Anybody? Which keyword do we use to define inheritance in JavaScript? Anyone? What is the keyword we use? Perfect answer. All of you correct. Extend is the keyword. To be very precise, extends is the keyword used to define the inheritance in JavaScript. Correct answer, guys. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna design our own custom control. Okay. And to design that, we need to understand that how UI5 is designing their control. Similarly, we got to design. Now, guys, what do you think? Does browser understand UI5? Does browser understand UI5? No. What does a browser understand? Browser only understand HTML and CSS directly along with JavaScript, right? So what UI5 framework is actually doing? Anyone? Do you remember this? What UI5 framework is actually doing? What is UI5 framework actually doing? It's rendering, it's converting. It's converting the data to equivalent HTML and CSS, right? It is converting your code, whatever you're writing, to equivalent HTML and CSS. That's what it's producing. It's actually, there is a component called renderer which is doing that. If you want to design a custom control, your own control, which other people can use, then you would have to write something called a renderer. This renderer, you have to tell when somebody use my control, what is the equivalent HTML I'm producing, right? That's what you got to do. So this is why the syntax for writing a custom control looks like something below. So what is the syntax for creating a custom control? Can anybody tell me what are the important things a control has inside? What are all the things you have seen in SDK inside a control till date? What are the different things you have seen as part of a UI control in SAP UI5 SDK? Yes, properties. What else? Aggregation. What else? What else have you seen? Property. Very good answer. Aggregation. Events. Methods. Types. Perfect answer. These are all different things you see. So you are designing now your own control, guys. Yeah. You're designing your own control. So you have to now think in that direction. You got to design your control so that your control, you can decide what property I want, what event I want. And then along with that, you got to utilize the properties sometimes. And then you have to also write a renderer function so that equivalent HTML can be produced. So what I want here is the use case. I want to produce a heading control. SAP UI5 framework or SAP UI5 does not offer this or does not offer heading control to me. I have to design a custom control. In that case, I have to design my own control. This is what you guys have to do. I want to design my own control. I don't want to be then sits and say SAP iPad doesn't support, so I can't do anything. You can design your own control. What is the syntax for doing that? Very easy syntax. SAP.UI dot core dot control class. This is the super class for the UI controls. Dot extend is the keyword. Then you got to use the name of your control inside. Okay, name of your control, whatever name you would like to give. Okay, so after that, comma curly braces, and this like this. Inside the curly braces, we have three important sections. Okay, important section. First section is called metadata. Second is called init function. And any guess what last? Anybody? What else? Just now I told you. What else do you need to implement? Renderer. You need to implement a renderer function over here. Clear, everybody? three different sections of a custom control. Your own control. You are control developer now. You can also apply for a job position in SAP for UI5 developer now, because this is what a UI5 framework developer is doing. They are adding their own control. They are adding controls to SAP UI5. You can also do that. You can contribute now to SAP Open UI5 with your own control. Maybe if they like it, they will publish your control in UI5 library. Now coming to metadata, there are three sections: properties, next we have functions, then we have events, and we have aggregation. So whatever you wish to, you can add them as part of your control. This is how control definition looks like. Okay, whatever you have seen till date, you were using the controls. Yeah, you were using the controls. You were not like you were using control given by UI5, and now you're developing a control on your own. This is what you're doing. Let me finish, guys. Please park your question for a minute. If you're asking question, you are confusing yourself at this moment. We are in very early stage of the topic. Please park your questions. Now there are two different default objects which you receive as part of this method from UI5 itself. First object is ORM and second is called OControl. These two objects you are actually going to receive as part of this particular renderer method. Okay, there are these two objects which you will receive actually here. Okay, so first object is ORM. What it does, there's another object which is OControl. What is ORM does? ORM is the renderer object. This is the object which you will use to talk to browser. See guys, ultimately you have to tell the browser what is equivalent HTML, right? This is the object which you will use to talk to browser. You have to tell the browser that this is what I want to print as an HTML on the screen. That's what you got to do. What is OControl? OControl is the object of control itself. Okay. One quick question. If you want to use a property, or if you want to call a method of a class within the class, what do you need? If you want to call a method of a class within the class, what do you need? You need an object of the class, right? You need an object of the class, and that object typically in ABAP is known as me. In OOPS ABAP, it is me keyword. In JavaScript, it is this pointer. Here in this case, it is OControl. OControl is the object of the control which you are developing, so that you can access from the renderer method. From the renderer method, you can access all the properties, events, and aggregations and functions of the control which you have defined in metadata. So this OControl gives you an access to these stuff which is there in the metadata section of the control. Okay, this is what it does. Let us go ahead and see now what else can we do. How can we design our use case? For that, I'm going to create now another file altogether. Let's go back to our UI5 project. I'm going to create completely new folder and just close all these things. Create a new folder, and this folder name I'm keeping it as controls. Inside the controls now, I'm just going to add a new JavaScript file, and I can name this JavaScript file, let's say my custom control.js. Let's write any JavaScript file in UI5. Anybody, what it starts with, any JavaScript file which you're creating in UI5, what does it starts with? Anybody? Anyone?
Scaffolding.
Scaffolding template, right? Absolutely correct. Scaffolding is what it starts with. Let's start with scaffolding for writing this JavaScript file, sap.ui.define, brackets and a function. We all used to now scaffolding template very much. You are designing a custom control, so you don't have to return it. Okay, you don't have to return it. You're designing a control which should be registered at runtime, so this code should get executed. That's it. You don't have to return. You are not writing a formatter. You're not writing a library of functions. You're writing library of control. This control at runtime, when this particular custom control.js is executed, it should get registered. That's it. So you don't have to return anything. Say sap.ui.getCode, sorry, ui.core.control. This is a super class dot extend, and now can give the namespace and the control name along with the namespace. So it is oft.fury.controls. That's my namespace which I've written here. And now I can say dot custom control. That's the name of the file, comma curly braces. How many total sections a custom control has? Anybody? How many total sections a custom control? 3 sections. Just now we saw. The first section is the metadata section. The second is init function. And third is renderer function. RM and out control. Clear everybody? All 3 sections of your control. Are you all clear, guys? All 3 sections which you have. The metadata, the init function, and the render function. These are all the 3 sections you have as part of any custom control you create. Now let us go ahead and define a metadata. So I'm just going to add nothing right now. I'm just going to come back to renderer, and I'm going to talk to browser and say, hey browser, can you put a heading tag for me? Correct? I will tell browser, hey browser, can you put heading tag to me? How do you talk to the browser from here? What do you use to talk to browser? What do you use? Many people are asking, Anubhav, what is ORM? Tell me, if you want to talk to somebody, what do you need? You need a handler, right? So how do you now talk to browser? To talk to browser, SAP UI5 giving you a ready-made object, which is nothing but ORM. This object you can use to talk to the browser. This is the object which will instruct the browser what needs to be done when somebody uses this control. This is the object which is sending commands to the browser to do anything you wish to. Clear, everybody? So this is what is talking to the browser. So now I'm going to come back and say ORM dot write. I want to write something to you, browser. Hey browser, can you please print me an H1 tag? And let's put H1 ending here. So this is the equivalent HTML I'm producing whenever somebody use this control. This is the HTML I am producing. Are you all clear, guys? Which HTML I am producing when somebody using this control? I hope it's clear to everybody. This is the equivalent. You are writing this control. You are the owner of the control now. Since UI5 was not offering this control, we designed it on our own. In a company, typically there are multiple profiles these days, and it clearly depends on which profile you are working. Yeah. So there is something called a UI5 and Fiori developer. What this guy does, his main job is to develop using UI5 controls. His main job is to build the applications. The second profile comes is Fiori consultant. His main job is to make sure security configuration, enabling, disabling, installation of Fiori apps. His main job is installation, security, configurations, all the basis related stuff. The third job profile comes is Fiori architect, who is a combination of all above. He is the super boss. He is the combination. He knows these things. There's another job called Fiori UX designer. This guy is mainly working with prototypes. This is what this guy is doing. And combiningly all three work when you know you become a Fiori architect. Are you clear, guys? What is the job profile here? These are all three different job profiles you're seeing in the company. Completing two of my course. First is UI5 Fiori development with XML views on Web IDE, which you are currently going through. You become just a Fiori developer. Completing my next advanced Fiori course with Launchpad and Fiori security. These two are also covered. And as a result of that, you become a Fiori architect. However, there's another job in the market which you see framework developer, UI5 framework developer or custom control developer. Okay. This guy is just building the controls, just like we did here. This gentleman is just building the controls, and the controls built by the gentleman here is consumed by the developer. So you're building the control and that is used by the developer. This is what is happening in the market. These are all the different job roles you have as part of SAP Fiori in any company. Of course, some people also say OData developer, which is actually not a Fiori related stuff, but yes, these are generic terms. You can build OData service. That's where the ABAP knowledge is required. These are normal terminologies, normal job roles. So if you next time see a job description, you will know what is that they are asking for. And there is a very, very thin line between all these aspects. And today the companies are driving in such a way that they're asking everything. If you see any company today, these days, they're asking everything, everything. You should know ABAP on HANA, you should know S4 HANA, you should know Fiori, you should know Node.js, you should know HANA, you should know Fiori consultants work, you should know UX design, you should know Fiori development, UI5 development, you should know everything. You will see there is a very thin line between these topics because all of this is mixed up. And today it's big problem that nobody is there to guide us. What to do, what is the right direction, who is doing what. People don't have a knowledge. The moment you say to your manager, you know Fiori, your manager expect that you know everything. He or she doesn't know that there is a thin line between these things. So they expect you today everything. And if you really want to survive for next 10 years in your career, I would highly recommend you to at least learn these three topics minimum so that your next 10 years of your career is set. The UI5 Fiori development, the Launchpad and security concepts, and ABAP on HANA with S4 HANA. These three courses, you must learn. These three things you must learn. If you don't want to attend my course, just go to my website, download the course content, try to learn from that course content yourself. Okay, that is what is happening in the industry. So let us go ahead and design this. I've already done that, and now it's time to consume this custom control. How do you consume it? Let's go to our one of the fragment where we want to now use this control. We probably go to more info fragment, and you remember we were using SAP UI5 libraries here. See, XML namespace M, XML namespace form. Similarly, now it's your own control. Your own control, guys. You got to use your own control. Clear? So now, how do you use your own control? You got to add that library. You got to load it. Yeah. So now you have to go and load it, and you got to use it. So you have to say any namespace and just give the path of the folder. So let me give XML namespace, and I'll say this namespace anything. I can say Anubhav, and now I can say where is the control library. The control library is fp.fury.controls library. That's the library where I have this. Now in this library, in this folder, there are lots of controls. They all get registered, and there's a control called custom control. I'm going to use that. So let me come down to simple form. At the top of the simple form, now I'm going to use Anubhav colon custom control. I invoked it. Done, guys. Congratulations. You have used your custom control successfully. This is what, who use the custom control? Anybody? Now can you find out the thin line? Who is using the custom control? Which is the job profile you are into who is using the custom control? Which is the job profile you are into who is using the custom control? Yes, it's the developer you are using. Who is building the custom control? Who is building the custom control? Who is the building the custom? Who is building custom control? Is the framework developer who is building the custom control. This guy built the control which this guy is using. Do you understand? There are two different job works. There are two different job profiles. Maybe you are all-rounder. Maybe you are all-rounder. Okay? Maybe you are all-rounder. With my training, I try to make sure that you become an all-rounder. This is what my intentions are. Now, let's go back and see how can we now see the result of this. So let's just execute our Fiori app. You saw that earlier there was no heading tag in UI5 framework, and now as a result of this we are going to see a heading tag as part of result. So let's press enter. Voila! Can you see it has got a heading tag, guys, produced on your screen? Amazing. Thanks to UI5, doesn't become a bottleneck for me. You can right click and inspect this, and now you can see in the DOM it is actually produced. It has actually produced what? What did it produce? Anybody? What did it produce? What did it produce? Which is the equivalent HTML it produced? What did it produce? It produced what? Which HTML code it produced? Anyone? It produced an H1 tag. Perfect, Swami, you're right. Perfect, Monica, you are also right. It produced an H1 tag. There you go. You can see this is what we gave to the UI5, right? This is what we told. This is what we want. This is what we display. This is what we want to give to browser. This is what we want to see in our app. And that's what exactly it has produced, guys. Are you clear what it means for creating a custom control? Okay. Now let us proceed. Now, do you think if somebody using your custom control, would they want this text always? Would they want this as the text always? Would they ever want this as a text? No, they want to give their own text. So today, when you're creating a button, how did you give this particular text? How did you give this particular text? Today, if you want to create a button, how can you put your own text in the button? You use the property, right? You use which property to set the text for the button? You use text property, correct? So now let us go ahead and create some properties. I'm going to add a property, let's say Mario. I added a property called Mario. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to access this property value inside my renderer. So anybody to access a property in UI5, what do you use? To access a property, you remember my FundaFox of first session of UI5. What is that happens whenever there is a property in UI5? For every property in UI5, what do you get? What do you get for free for every property? Perfect answer. Monica has it right. You are answering maximum number of questions. You have setters and getter methods. So the moment you created this Mario property, SAP UI5 automatically added setter getter method for this property. To access a method, what do you need? To access a method, what do you need? To access a method, what do you need? You need an object. You need an object, and this is the object which we are going to use is an object of my current control. So using this, I'm going to call a get method, get Mario, and that get Mario method will give me an access to this Mario property at runtime in my code. So let me just go back. Instead of Anubhav rocks, I'm just going to add double quote. plus plus concatenate, and I'm going to say o control dot get Mario. That's all. Now watch out, watch out. Let's go back to the fragment and pump in from here the Mario property. And what you want to display is this is now set by Mario. I'm passing some text, whatever I like to display on the UI, and that text will be now displayed in the heading control instead of hard coded text every time. So anybody now can use in your team, your control, it produces an H1 tag with the text they like. This is what it can happen now. So I got to just quickly refresh, remove the hashtag because we are in the routing mode, remove the hashtag. And let's select. Oops, something went wrong. Something went wrong, guys. It did not work. Let me check. Have I done some mistake? So Mario property. Here I've used get Mario property, concatenating with the Mario property. Ha! You can see it's passed as blank. Okay, that's okay. Why it is not working? Let me press F12. F12 is my best friend. Press F12. See what went wrong. OControl.getMario is not a function. It's not a function, which means something wrong while defining the Mario property. I got it. In the metadata, you should put properties because a control has properties, a control has methods, a control has aggregations, it has events, right? This is how it has. I should add it in inside properties. Yes, that's how you should add it, guys. Now come back. I found the reason. I refresh. I just remove this fruits of zero, reload the app, and wow, there you go. You can see now set by Mario. Are you clear, guys? How can I add my own control? How can I enhance my custom control and add more properties and use these properties to build my output? Yeah, let's add one more custom control so I can go back to the fragment. And I'm going to add another custom control. Anubhav is my library namespace. Another custom control. I can say Mario equals to Spider-Man. And I can say here as Superman. Let's come back and test it now. You're gonna get how many controls are you gonna get on the UI now? How many heading tags are you gonna get on the UI? Anybody? You're gonna get 2 heading tags on the UI now. Let's go ahead and test it. I've done a mistake again, looks like. No, seems okay. It's not loading though. Let me check what went wrong. Custom control.js not found. Ah, I did a typo. Yes. Bad in typos. Yes, that was the issue. Let's refresh. And you can see Superman, Spider-Man, both are coming as part of it. Whatever text you wish to, you can add. Now, what about styling? If I want to change the color of Superman and Spider-Man, how can I do? Any guess, anybody? Perfect answer, Swami. Very good answer. We apply CSS, right? We apply CSS. So, can we embed some CSS in our code, our renderer code? Why not? Why not? Let's go back to custom control, enhance it. Let's add another property. And I name this property Jackass. Let me add a Jackass property. Why am I doing? You can use a color property. Yeah, you can use this. But now you guys will get confused. What is color? Is it a standard? No. It's just user friendly name which I'm giving to the property. You can use Jackass. Okay. It's your choice what you wish to use. Let me use maybe color property. It's not a standard, remember? It's not a standard. It's something you can decide property name like Mario. So I've added my own property. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build again the code according to that property. So I can say come here and now say style equals to single quote starting, single quote ending, and then I say color property colon, and I can say plus plus control dot get color. This is what I want. Here everybody, I've got a style color equals to control dot get color. That is what I want. I have added a color property inside style tag. Let us go back and refresh. This is concatenation, simple concatenation. Don't worry about it. This is simple concatenation I'm doing. I'm building it up. Okay. I'm building it up. So I'm writing a style code. You remember typically HTML, those who forgot HTML, they will not understand. H1 tag style equals to color colon red. This is how we used to write. If you have forgot, you will not understand. Whatever text you want to display, that text ends with H1 tag. This is our HTML, which I am actually producing here. I'm producing this HTML, this particular kind of code I'm producing from the above statement by concatenating my property. Okay. Which color? Now your question is which color? I don't know. I'm a control developer. I just give you a provision to pass the color. It's the UI5 developer now to go and choose the color you want. So pass the color from here. I say red color. Save it. Let's come back. Refresh the page. Voila! Superman turned into red. There you go. Superman turned into red. This is what we pass. What about if I want to default a property? How can I do that? That reason we have init function. You can just go back and say this dot set color is blue. Default color is blue for every control now. Init function gets called immediately to initialize your property, color property to blue for all the cases. So let's refresh. You will see by default Spider-Man now is in the blue color. Everything comes in blue color. Whatever your control developer is changing, that will change into the another color. Clear everybody? The usage of init function, the usage of properties. But now you say, Anubhav, it's very dirty. See guys, this code is very dirty, concatenation, and it's difficult to understand. So the problem here is this code is huge code, not easy to understand, and error prone. Very susceptible to error because when you do large amount of concatenation, it is always error prone. So you can break down this piece of code using ORM render APIs. There are a lot of render functions which are there with us. We can use them to break down this code, especially to add style. So how do you break it down? The first thing you start with the write an H1 tag. Okay. So let me comment out the above one. ORM dot write an H1 tag, start an H1 tag to begin with. The next one, what you need to do is write a style. And in the style, you have got to write a property. Which property you want? I want a color property. What value you want? I want oControl dot get color. It's easy to use. And another style, you can add it, add style. And I can say I want a background. Or I want a border. Whatever property, CSS property you want. oControl dot get Zumba. Now I am going to create a Zumba property. The user can pass the border. I can come here and add a Zumba property. And now I can come down. Once I'm done adding all my style code to the control, we got to this particular add style method is writing to a buffer actually. It's always writing to a buffer. So now this buffer I need to flush and put the code and generate the HTML out of it. So I have to say write styles method. So after you add all of them to the buffer, you have to say add styles. That's it. And then you just close your HTML, right? Close the HTML tag. Just concatenate your text again. whatever your text was, oControl dot get Mario H1 tag. Much easy to read, much easy to manage this piece of code rather than long list of concatenation. Better? We broke it down into pieces and it is much more interactive, much more readable, much more manageable. So all the style code you can add it like this. Let us go back and test it now. I can come back and refresh. It produces absolutely same result. No difference in the result actually. Oops, something went wrong. Looks like press F12. Zumba was already defined. Let me just check that. No, Zumba was not defined. Let me just check what went wrong. Press F12. Add styles. Oh, sorry. Add styles is not a
Anubhav,
function.
first letter.
It is right
No,
styles.
the Zumba capital is a Z is capital. You are defined as a small letter there.
No. Look at here. Mario, color, Zumba. They all properties starts with small letter. But when you use method name, JavaScript naming convention, you missed out. See, color property should be small color, but when you're using getter setter method, you should use JavaScript naming convention. You forgot the funda fox. Get color, first letter should be small, next consecutive word, first letter is capital. That's why I say funda fox, very important. Any funda fox you're forgetting, you are risking it up. You are risking it up, entire project, you're risking it up. Do not forget funda foxes. Save this, let's come back. And I just say refresh. And voila, there you go, it's coming up. But I did not set in Zumba, so there's no border coming yet. Let me set the Zumba property, go back, and maybe for control number 2, I'm just gonna add a Zumba. I'm gonna add a 2 pixel solid red color border around it. I want. Just pass that up. So Spider-Man should be surrounded with a 2 pixel solid red color border. Voila, there you go. You can see it's functioning as expected. When you do things right, nobody can stop you to bring the output. Nobody. Nobody can stop your output when you do things right. Even God cannot stop your output. Believe me. भगवान खुद धरती पे आके तुम्हारा आउटपुट नहीं रोक पाएंगे. Nobody can stop you
Anubhav, can
if
you
you do
go
things
back to
right.
the code and explain once again?
Okay. So understand the difference. This thin line, you got to understand thin line. There is one part who is developed by control developer who is just focusing developing this control. So this control developer has put 3 properties for different reasons, different purpose in the properties section. And then he has written an HTML generation for that. What is he doing? He's writing the CSS property, mapping the control property to CSS property here in this add style method, which is equivalent of generating a style code like this. Since rather writing this concatenation, which is a long concatenation, it will produce an error prone, we have modularized it. So we are adding each style property with its value one by one, mapping the control property to the style property.
Hey,
Once our
Anubhav,
style is ready, we are done.
yeah,
Then we
sorry,
have to,
just
please hold on. No, do not interpret. Please hold on. Let me complete the topic. It will confuse everybody. It will confuse everybody. I'll give you room to ask questions. Don't worry. So now, then we are adding it into the browser. We are writing all the styles which we generated into the browser. And finally, we are just pushing this to the DOM along with our text and ending the H1 tag. As a result of this, when this code render anyway gets executed, when somebody use this control here, so control now the UI5 developer use your custom control, they will pass the properties from here. Whatever properties they are passing will get set into the control properties, and accordingly the DOM will be created. The result will be created. If you go back to the DOM and right click and see, inspect the DOM, you will find what it has produced. You can see we had passed a Zumba property as 2 pixel solid red. It has generated the equivalent HTML code here. Similarly, we pass the color property blue. It has generated the equivalent HTML code. So complete style code is generated, equivalent HTML code. including the text which we pass in the property. It has also Mario property which was used for the text. It has generated it. Similarly, if you just look at the above element, also inspect it, you will see also it has generated the color equals to red with the text property inside. This is what the UI5 developer does. UI5 developer job, your job is just this much. Somebody give you a control, you just use it. If you've been asked to develop a control, this is how you do. They both development goes side by side, completely different job profiles, not done by single person. Typically, if it is a small company and you've been asked to do that, of course you can take this job role now because you know how to develop it. Now time for your question, but only one by one.
Yes. So Anubhav, the very first question is, whenever we are creating a custom object or custom control, we have to use this object render object dot write also only, right? There is no other way.
There is no other way. This is what is telling to the browser that what we want to print in the DOM. This is telling the browser, please write an H1 tag. Browser, please add a style for me. Browser, please add a style for me. This will get added into a buffer. And when you say write styles, what it does, it will pull this and write it into the browser. Okay. So this is your browser object.
And this add style is a standard keyword, or we can give anything?
No. This is a standard method of RM object. RM renderer object. It's a standard method.
So is there any way we can see what are the standard keywords or
Yes.
properties of the RM object?
Where do you see the document?
UI5 SDK.
UI5 SDK, of course. UI5 SDK is the answer. Let's go to UI5 SDK. I want each one of you to become self-dependent. After the training, if you're not self-dependent, still you would need in these topics my help, then I have not done a good job. I have not done a good job in that case. Okay. After completing the training, if you still need some help from me, I have not done a good job. Yes,
Anubhav?
You can manage it. 1 second, let's complete this question first. Let me answer. How can we find renderer object? We must be able to find renderer methods, you can see. And you see ORMO control. Come down. Where can we see documentation? Oops, I don't see a documentation for renderer. What type of object the renderer is? Let me just check that. API reference, let me check here. HTML element render. Methods, no. Methods. Where is add style? Is this the one? No, this is also not the one. SAP UI core renderer, I think this is the one. SAP core renderer extend. Yes, this is the one, ORM, you can see. But I don't see the list of functions here. Maybe I have to check where can I find all the list of functions. I don't see it here. Let's check in the parent class. There's no parent class here. Okay, maybe I have to check that. Which class is implementing this renderer class? And there we have to find it. I actually referred the UI5 documentation to find these things. So you can see renderer or custom control. There you go. This is the chapter. In this chapter, I have found out these APIs which are used. You see, write classes, add class. You can add a custom CSS class actually. You can add control data. You can add render control. Another control you can add inside this control actually. You see, get aggregation. You can have aggregation. Even more complex example they have it here. You can try these examples. Lakshmi, your question please.
Yeah, Arnav, do you remember we did on the UI5 zebra lines with different colors? That time also we used CSS in the HTML, right? So, what is the big difference of using that one and this rendering this thing? Why we have to go for this one?
Okay, there we had used the table control as it is. We just changed the coloring. We just changed the style. But here this control itself is altogether a different control. It's altogether a custom control. Now, I would ask you to design a fluffy table. Have you seen a fluffy table? Anybody work with Flex controls? Adobe Flex technology? There is a fluffy table in Adobe Flex. Can you have a fluffy table in UI5? Let me go back and check. Do we have a fluffy table? Let me search. There is no fluffy table in UI5. If somebody asks you to have a fluffy table in UI5, what will you do? It won't help applying by CSS. What do? You got to design your own table control. Something which UI5 does not offer you. You can do it yourself. In last example of alternate zebra coloring, we had just used CSS and it does the job. But sometimes a control doesn't offer certain functionality. What do you have to do? You have to go with custom control. And another example I will show you now in the system. Let's go to a button control. In a button control, if you go, just check in the button control. Do you have an event which triggers on a button when you hover the mouse? When you just take your mouse on a button, does it trigger any hover event? Do you have a hover event here? Anybody? No, you don't have? What do you do in that case? What do you do in that case? It become a bottleneck for you now. UI5 is not offering certain functionality for you. What will you do now? You got to design your own control. Yes, see that. I don't have a hover button. When I take my mouse, let me add a button here on the UI. When I take my mouse onto the button, it should trigger an event. This is my requirement. I just add a button and I say text, just hover on me. Now I see there is no event provided by UI5 to support hover. There is no event. There is a press event which will trigger on click, but there is no hover event. I don't have any event. So how do I handle that? Now when I run this, you will get a button. My requirement is whenever I hover on this button, whenever I take my mouse onto this button, it should trigger an event, right? That's my requirement. How do I do that? Become a bottleneck for me, right? But UI5 doesn't become a bottleneck for developers. You can design your own control. Let's create an amazing button. I'm going to create a new file and I call it as amazing button. You can name it anything, your choice. .js, of course. sap.ui.define is my scaffolding template. Little speed mode on. Just 1 second.
Anubhav, for every
Welcome to this.
sure. No,
Just give me a second, please.
with this one only. I have question.
Uh-huh.
For every control, we have to develop a file, separate file.
No, not necessarily. What you can also do is you can develop one single library which has all the controls. Okay, so you can add that here also as a next one. Just add another one. Okay, you can add another one within this file itself. But I'm just showing you the best practice. It's good to keep it in separate file. This is the best practice. Okay. Now coming back, sap.ui.core.extend. Don't use the capital E. And now say oft.fiori.controls.amazing button. These sections, metadata. Second section is init function, renderer. Now this button, do you want to design whole new button? Do you want to design whole new button? Doesn't make sense now. You want to reuse the SAP UI5 button and then add an extra add-on feature to that, which is the hover functionality. So it's better rather to use SAP UI core control, use sap.m.button. मुझे button चाहिए ultimately. तो button को extend करो ना. Why are you extending SAP UI core control? Incorrect. You want a button. So why don't you extend a button only? Isn't it? So now I have extended a button class. I've created my amazing button. You can add your own properties. It's like inheriting and overriding. So you have a super class. You inherit from the super class basic oops. and then you can override whatever add-on functionality you want. You can keep adding it, that functionality. So whatever is there in super class, that naturally comes to you. So we want a button ultimately. So why don't we use SAPM button and extend that control so that UI5 doesn't become a bottleneck for me. And now let me just go ahead and use this. So guys, this is important. Don't put it null or don't leave it blank. Otherwise it will destroy your button. This is indicating that I'm calling base class method, base class renderer, base class properties, base class metadata, base class init should be called. This is what it is indicating. And I can come back and just add a button instead of amazing button. Anubhav is my library path, amazing button. And now let's copy that, end it here, save it. Let's come back. Now let's see, at least it should give me the basic button what was coming earlier. So I can come back and refresh. It should get me the basic button. Oops, something went wrong. Console is my best friend, immediate friend. Init is not a function. Something went wrong here. Init is not a function. We got it probably a function here. Yes, this one I have to put. Let me give it a try one more time. And you get the normal button. Okay, it's clickable normal button. So you have created your own amazing button from the super class. But now, what was our requirement? Whenever I take my mouse onto the button, it should trigger an event. A UI5 button. This is a Fiori button now. SAPM library button is exactly looking like that because you use that base class. Now, when I hover my mouse onto this, it should trigger an event. For that, now I use JavaScript event. So I can use on mouse over. This is a JavaScript event, guys, I'm using. I'm calling a function as front of that. I'm saying this dot fire Anubhav. What is Anubhav here? Anubhav is going to be an event which I'm going to register by extending it. I can come events and I can say Anubhav as an event I am registering. This is an event I'm creating my custom event whenever JavaScript event is triggering, which will trigger on a DOM element, HTML element. Whenever this particular event is triggering, what am I doing? I am firing a custom event called Anubhav. This is what am I doing? I am telling system, please call my custom event Anubhav. And this event I put it here. So of course it has to come in double quotes. And then you have to just add a empty. This is indicating that a JavaScript a function can come and attach here. That's what it is indicating. Okay. So whenever on mouse over happens, which is a JavaScript event, I am triggering custom event fire Anubhav. This is what am I doing. I missed a comma. And now watch out. There's an Anubhav event now, a new event. Control is extended within event. So I can come to my button and I can say Anubhav event equals, so I can put a function on hover, on Anubhav. Anything I can put, and this function as a UI5 developer, I can implement as part of my controller. So let me go to view to controller, which is used by the fragment. And now I can add anywhere this button and I say function curly braces, and I can say now sap.m.messageBox.alert. Wow, you hovered. So now earlier what was happening when I was hovering my mouse onto the button, it was not doing anything. But now I extended, first job of the control developer is to write a control extending the existing button. The control developer has now subscribed to an on mouse over, which is a core JavaScript event, which will trigger on hovering mouse onto the UI control HTML element. From there, I'm just redirecting my call. I'm channelizing this traffic to this event handler Anubhav. To this event I'm triggering. This event is what UI5 developer will use and write the code against. So that's a control developer's job. Once control developer finish the job, they inform UI5 developer. Now UI5 developer use the control and subscribe to this event Anubhav. This will get called whenever user mouse over on the control. For this, now we have an on Anubhav action handler, which we usually do. For any event, we put an event handler. That's what I've done. Like for press event, you will put an event handler. Similarly, for this also I put it. And this will trigger then a message box alert. Let's come back and test it. Fire. See guys, you forgot it. Let me show you. What is fire here? You missed out complete Funda Foxes. Those who missing the Funda Foxes, it will be difficult for you day by day. You see, whenever there is an event created, there are three methods which gets created automatically. Fire event name, attach event name, and detach event name. Do you remember this Funda Fox created long back? That's why I say take a print of this PPT and utilize your time. Don't waste your time. That's why if you have any one of you have your notes, I must say you must have this in your notes. If you've written it, you can recall it. If you have not written it, you cannot recall it. If you don't have the print of this PPT with you, you cannot recall it. I hope it is now clear to all of you. Yeah, let us go back. And now I'm just going to refresh. It will reload. And guess what? Guess what, anybody? Are we ready? Are you all ready to take the mouse onto this button? Are you all ready to take my mouse pointer on the button and see the magic? Let's take our mouse pointer. Boom, there you go. You see, the moment I take my mouse, voila, it directly opens up the alert pop-up. I didn't even click. I just took my mouse onto the button. It has triggered my event handler. Because now we are subscribed, we extended the standard button to the new event called Anubhav, which will trigger on mouse over, which is an HTML event. So you have large amount of HTML events you can subscribe to, and you can design your custom events as part of standard control. That's the beauty. So anyone, you remember there's an input field. In input field, typically you don't get this feature of password. Suppose there's an input field and there is sometimes you see on websites, right? There is a display I button. When you click on that I button, password is visible. That feature we don't have with UI5. I've seen in one of my project, they have extended an input field control with that I button inside. It's a UI5 input field. They have extended it with an I button inside. On click of that I button, it will make the password visible. That's how they're doing. They're using. This is one use case which you can use. Lots of use cases. You can extend things the way you want. It's your choice. You can extend the things the way you want.
Yeah,
yes, please.
we extend
Now
the
on your
event, right?
questions.
The same way we can.
Yes, please.
Yeah, the same way we can extend the property also.
Absolutely, yes. I can add another property for button. Let me go ahead and show that.
So if I have a table and if I need to shrink the line of resize the line, resize the row height, so can I do that?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. You can do that. When I used to watch WWF in my childhood, which is now WWE, wrestling, I am a big fan of watching wrestling. It used to come on 10 Sports in my childhood days, and Star TV also. My mom, and they always used to get this message: do not try this at home. You remember? Do not try this at home. Do not try this at home. I would tell you, try this at home. I would tell you, try this at home. Every example which I'm doing, please try this at home. Please try this at home. Okay, this is what I tell you. Okay, now coming back, let's say add a property. I can say add a property, let's say Zangura. I just use these funny names because so that you know that this is not a keyword. Any keyword I don't use. Anything which you think is something different, I can use a name here. So hope you are getting that. What is a keyword? What is not? Properties is a keyword. Metadata is a keyword here. Events is a keyword. Fire is actually the name of the event, and after that name of the event is a method. Renderer is a keyword. Init is a keyword. These are all keywords. Zangura property I've added. What do you want to do with this property? You want to change the button coloring. You can do that. Yes, you can change the color. You can then have to write a renderer and you can enhance it with another thing. So you can add a custom CSS. There's a lot you can do. There's a lot you can do. So like this, you can extend properties, functions. You can add more functions. So anyway, when you add a property, there's a new function which gets added. Set Zangura and get Zangura. So this is all you can do. You can go ahead and use extend a table control. And if you're not happy with the width of the table, anyway, width you can control directly. There is a width property for the table rows. Why to create a custom control for that? So in your use case, there is a width property already there in table. If it is not there, then you should think of a custom control. I would say 98% of Fiori apps doesn't have custom controls. Because SAP UI5 itself is very rich. It gives you so many controls. You don't have to extend it. You can go to SAP UI5 sample. You see already we have so many lines of controls here. Huge number of lists. Huge list is there. You can use out of them, right? You don't need to create custom control. 98% cases you don't need. It's my duty to tell you, however, everything. You should never get confused what is a custom control. This is why this unit was covered. Our intention is to understand the concept. Okay. Clear, everyone? Any questions? Any further questions? Now it's all your time. You can ask questions.
Anubhav, this is Murli.
Yes, Murli.
Anu, this is I am having issue with the yesterday's exercise. I was able to all the navigation and all is working fine, but when I go to the more info button, it's kind of I'm getting the indexes properly. Whatever the fruit, the index number is changing. All the data is coming. Only thing is the text and the label are rearranged. I don't know. I not done anything. I will just show you if you could.
Okay, sure, we will see. But before that, just to quickly show you, thank you, Monica, for posting the solution of this exercise. Monica already finished it. Did you also face the same problem, Monica, in the exercise for this router? She did not face. So guys, those who have not done the exercise and would like to see the solution, I had already posted solution by Monica here. So you all can download and check it. However, let's see, Murli, your case, what issue are you facing? Let us go ahead and check that out quickly. And sorry, Venkatesh, I could not sit with you because you do not have a TeamViewer access to give it to me. Until I get an access to your system, I cannot really help you. So you have to either give me your OData server access so that I can run the application on my system.
Yeah, is can any disk like that?
So until I get access to your system, how can I code? How can I code the code?
Through any disk I can do that. Any disk also will work like a TeamViewer.
Yeah, that's the reason. You cannot install TeamViewer in your system also, right? In your company.
Not possible. Yeah.
So
any disk is not required install directly. We can.
Directly, how can I check? Okay, anyway, we'll try.
Yes, I will.
Just wait. We will try. Because I cannot also use your project. You've used an OData service. It's not going further. It's asking for OData loading.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come to it. Venkat. Just give me 2 minutes. Let us first finish this one and then we'll come to it.
Okay.
Yes, Murli, please.
Okay,
we can see your screen.
Okay. See, like I'm launching this the application is fine.
Okay.
So when I click here, there's more info, right? I don't know why it gets see the health benefit. We have put it here. It all jumbled up.
Please go back to the fragment.
I mean, you mean
to the fragment. Here. Responsive grid layout. You use the responsive grid layout without knowing it. Just remove that layout part.
Okay, I'll just take it out. Okay.
जब तक हम कुछ नहीं करेंगे UI5 अच्छे से चलेगी. जब हम छेड़ेंगे UI5 को तो UI5 गड़बड़ करेगी. Without knowing something, if you're putting a piece of code, it is going to hamper us actually. Please save that and reload the app. Just refresh on the another tab. Just refresh. It will work.
Okay.
Refresh will work.
Oh.
What are you doing? Close this.
No.
Just refresh here. F5. You can press. Now something has been improved. Please go back. What else have you done? Let's see. Just go back to the fragment. What else have you used? Title, content, form, SAP layout form. Okay, can you go back? Where have you embedded the fragment, please? In the view 2, where you have embedded the fragment. And here we have embedded the fragment here. Okay, this looks all okay. Why it is disturbing it?
So
Exactly.
Anubhav,
Yes.
in more fragment, sorry, please. In more info, can we use sap.ui.layout and namespace and then use vertical layout property and then we can set it vertical and horizontally, those fields easily?
Right, Prasun, we can do that. But the problem here is how come it is behaving different in my system and his system, right?
Anubhav, what happened? See, I had not done anything. Okay, the last 2 days before, everything was fine, even that validation exercise. So, and I downloaded your project and then uploaded into mine. When I ran that also, I'm getting the same thing. Just to test this, see, I'll show you this. This is the one I have master detail router Anubhav Oberoi. This is yours. Okay, even this is behaving like this.
Okay, you mean to say my project is a virus? Run this.
No. Even yours, I want to compare what I made mistake. Even that is also behaving like this.
Okay, so
maybe Anubhav version
typically
is
this
using the local host web ID, right? So
Yeah, we need to reinstall the web ID.
maybe you can use the cloud platform web ID and try it out. That should work, I guess.
No.
Or
That will have the
version.
latest version. Yeah.
So many people talking. Okay, if you want to try this out, I can see he's using Neo app already, and because of Neo app, what is happening? It is using the local web ID version. I have not yet covered the Neo app concept for all of you. I would recommend you please delete the Neo app file, which you can see on the left hand side. Neo app JSON.
Yeah.
Just click on that. Delete
Yeah.
it. Please. Just say delete. Don't worry. I'll get it recreated for you. You can rename it also. It will delink. Just rename it.
Okay. Rename it. Okay.
Rename it with neoappx.json. So now it will delink. Web ID will not take care of these files. Say rename. And please go to index.html and let me see what is the bootstrapping you have. Perfect. This all looks good. Now you can just go ahead and test it once again. Now still the same case.
No.
How come it is behaving little different in your system? Just press F12. Last try. Press F12, please. He saved it, I think. Can you please go on the top and just right click on the refresh button? Right click on the refresh button on the top. Right click on the refresh button on the top. Right click and say empty cache and hard reload. This will not use the UI5 version from cache. It will re-download the UI5 version from SDK, from CDN. Please close this console now. You see a root match handler triggered actually. You closed the whole window.
Oh, sorry.
There you go. You can see now it's working fine. So it was because of you
Yeah, but
created a new app JSON, which was using some certain version of SAP UI5, and that UI5 version was used. So it could be, see guys, there is a golden rule. If I have written a code and I'm giving it to you in the project blog, you're downloading and running, it should get you exact result. It only the result differ in case if UI5 version is different. That's the only reason. That's the only thing which can cause a difference. Nothing else. Impossible. Same thing happened with Deepak the other day. His routing is not working. That could be the reason because of just the UI5 version. Because it cannot happen the same code behave differently in different system. It is impossible. Just
I don't know. I found out. It wasn't the version actually. There was a typo in configuration. I accidentally mistyped.
I would love to see that so that everybody experience and they do not repeat this mistake. We all should learn from the mistake which we all do. So each other, this is the opportunity I take. Even many things I've learned in my courses from many of you. So many things which even I'm not aware, I've learned it. So Neo app right now, I'm not covered the concept. I would request you, please do not use Neo app. It may have a difference in output, like in your case, it happened. Okay. It could be.
Anubhav.
Yes.
Anubhav, Prasoon here. As we are already on the screen sharing of Moodle, so if we can just the issue I am facing is everything is working fine when I am working the same browser or new tab I am opening and navigating, all are working fine. But when I take that exact URL and paste in a new window, not a new tab, in a new window, then for the first load, the left side master list item is not showing as selected. But from second navigation and all, it is showing, it is getting highlighted. But for the first load in the new window.
Yeah, I understood. The same issue came to us and we fixed it. Anybody, can you please tell me what is the solution of that problem? Nobody remember?
Array. Master.
Yes, master what? What master?
And put both the pages into the array.
Perfect answer. Who is this? Hitesh. Is this Hitesh?
Yeah. Yes.
So Hitesh has given the answer already. Did I took extra class for you, Hitesh?
No.
No. Let me show you what you doing. I don't need to look at your screen, Prasoon. I can tell you right away what you're doing wrong. Go to the routing. In the routing, for your master routing, just put an array. And in this array, just also put Donald. You missed out this part.
No, that is there already.
Impossible. मैं मान ही नहीं सकता. उस दिन भी आपका वो कोड था वहां पे. वो फिर जाके चेक किया तो नहीं मिला मुझे. That day also I remember that was there. sap.ui.get core was there. And that day also we all have checked it. Okay, just cross check. Okay. I would recommend you to compare the manifest JSON and with my JSON and then come back to me. Still issue persists. I will check it. Okay, just check it once.
Oh, yeah, it is there in the blank where pattern is blank, right? Default one. Okay. It has Donald and Trump both. Yeah. Okay. It has Donald and Trump both.
First, let's go to Deepak. Deepak, over to you, please. Can you share your screen and tell us what was the problem with the last example? Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, so what basically instead of putting router class here, I had routing class, and I don't know, that was a problem. So I used the code comparison. I just went line by line between your manifest solution here and mine, and I just noticed that I had routing here, routing class. That was the problem.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Deepak. Did you learn something new then with that?
Yeah, actually, that's the question I asked you. I said, what happened, like, if we make some changes in this, like, it's not like a JSON file format issue. You said to use Git repository in future if you make any changes. Right. So I actually accidentally, this routing while I was typing, I just put routing here too. And that's basically caused us. It's working fine now.
Okay. So 2 learnings. Point 1 learning, never copy paste the code. If you would have copy pasted this code, would you ever get this issue? You never get this
No.
issue. And when you don't get the issue, you will never get into troubleshooting of this issue. And when similar issue comes due to some other developer code changes, and you've been given a task by your manager to fix it up, how will you fix? Are you getting the...
Anubhav, can we see tomorrow adding custom control in another custom control?
No, tomorrow we will see Google Map integration with custom control. I will show you that. Okay. So we will use Google Map integration tomorrow with custom control actually. That we will show you tomorrow. Okay.
Anubhav, this is Murli again. See, like now the Neo App Packs, right? I just put the Neo App Packs, but the other project also is working fine now.
Because earlier, refresh the cache and reload it. See what is happening with the cache concept in browser. When we load certain version of UI5, browser is caching it. Browser is caching and storing it with itself. So next time, browser is not going to CDN, Content Delivery Network, to reload the UI5. Okay. Now what we did, it was always picking the local version of UI5 from there earlier. I just asked you to right click and refresh and reload, hard reload. That has refreshed the cache and reloaded the UI5. Now, since the latest UI5 version is available, it will use that version all the time. Okay. There were these two issues in your thing. Okay.
Yeah, Anubhav, I have a question, Anubhav.
Yes, Jay.
Like yesterday, I was working on the, like, I was looking into the SAP marketplace, and I found a controller on the left top corner, like like a button with 3 lines. So I started trying to search for like what's the control in SDK, but I was not able to find out.
Okay.
But I found out like what's the control. It's like unified shell.
Okay.
In such cases, how do I search for these controls?
Okay.
I could see it, but I don't know the name.
Okay, very good question. Very quality. This is called a quality question actually. Very good quality question. Guys, let me rephrase this question in a better way. You see a Fiori app, which you have never ever seen in your life. Okay. Maybe go to any random Fiori app, which is developed by your company or shipped by SAP or somebody. And you are looking at this nice Fiori app and you thinking, oh my God, how beautiful it is. Okay. It's like you see a beautiful girl and, hey, I want to have a friendship with that girl. Yeah. Similarly, you saw first time a Fiori app. It's so beautiful Fiori app. And you don't know which particular control did they use there. Now you see here, this Fiori app, I'm seeing it first time and they have used something. Wow, amazing, right? How can I now know? How can I be a friend with this guy? How can I be a friend with this particular control? What is this they've used? How did they design it? Oh my God, how beautifully they've put. If you want to know the golden rule, press F12. F12 is your best friend. I told you many times. Just inspect this element. Look at the element. Point 1, it's an input tag. Go one level above till you find a div tag. Every tag is surrounded by div tag. Go one level above. You see a div tag. Okay. And just check if you finding somehow the library name. Okay. Just check the class name. Can you see the class name of this control? See what is matching. It's SAP M input value help, SAP M date picker. Can you see SAP M DP? SAP M is the library, DP is the control, which means date picker. Just go to UI5 SDK and search for date picker. You will find the control for sure. Just go for date picker. There you go. SAP MDP. Go inside, go to sample, and voila. You see here, this is the control they've used. You can also right click, inspect this one and see what is it. You will find absolutely same class, SAP MDP. You can see it here, SAP MDP. So looking at the class name, this will little bit, we need more experience with UI5. However, little bit more experience in IntelliJ, at least you get a clue what is it. SAPM library it is for sure. SAPMDP. Any control, anywhere. You can go on the top. I want to see what is this. Right click, inspect. Check what is it, how it is embedded, what is that it is kept. Now you can go, you see it's app toolbar actually. And you can see it is something called SAPM iBar, SAPM toolbar control. In the toolbar, they have added these different icons, buttons, and all that stuff. That is the intelligence you have to try. Look at the DOM. DOM is your best friend. Any Fiori app in your life, you go, you stuck, you don't know which control it is, just go and do an inspect. Just right click and say inspect. You will see what control it is. Just little bit scroll up and see what type of control they have used. So little bit is.
So if you don't see that, that means it's a custom control.
If it is a custom control, you do see the DOM differently. Okay, you will see the DOM differently actually. So now in this case, SAP MOH. Any guess what is MOH? We learned it already. Anybody? Do you remember what is MOH? What is it? Anybody? What is SAP MOH? Who will remember what MOH? What is OH stands for? किसी को याद आया? Object header control. You all have forgot. Look at the UI. Didn't we use this object header control in our Fiori app? SAP MOH. Let me just execute. SAP MOH. Didn't we use this object header? Let's right click. Look at the DOM. Object header control it is. SAP MOH. DOM नहीं देखते हो आप. सबसे बड़ा गलती आप लोगों का यही है. See the DOM. SAP MOH. Object header control. This is how we are. This is how SAP is styling their control using these classes. Hope that answer your question.
Yeah, so
some idea you will get, but there is a killer feature. It's called SAP UI5 Inspector. Another killer feature which gives you exact thing. Just use this SAP UI5 Inspector. Search for that. Add it to the Chrome browser. As the web store, it is available. Just add to the Chrome browser. This is another killer feature which SAP is offering. Thanks for asking this question. Many things you can learn with this. So one thing we saw DOM, with that you get a good idea. But now with this inspector, you're gonna get exact idea. Go to the app, start the UI5 inspector. But it's not starting. Let me refresh the app. It should recognize it. Yes, now you see it's active. Okay. This is the new logo of SAP UI5, which was released last year. So click on that inspector. Okay, just press F12. And now we should see somewhere inspector would have come. Where is my inspector? Somewhere it should have come. Controls.
Yeah, at the end you can see Anubhav.
At the top right side, UI5 was written.
No.
Anubhav, in the console itself.
In the console it was written? Sorry, I didn't notice.
Yes. If you could show, do you see after audit?
Yes. Sorry.
It was there.
So there you go, UI5. Now you select. Again inspect. You can see the complete hierarchy of UI5 actually over here. So I would typically dock it on the right side, left side. And now I can see. You can see SAP UI core component container class. Can you see the class name exactly? You can exactly see it. Right click and say inspect. And now go to UI5. You see exactly SAP mtext control it is. Can you see the class name of UI5 here? सारा property सब कुछ खुल के सामने आ जाएगा. Entire set of properties. You see text control has what are all the properties it has. Yeah, everything will come. You see directly it is showing now class names. SAP M button, SAP UI core icon, title, header, icon bar, icon filter. Everything comes. Complete UI comes in front of you. This is even more easy. And you see SAP M object list item was used. It's repeating. It's cloning every item. Due to binding, it has cloned it. And it was inside a list control. All the items. Button, title. Complete class name is coming. Does that answer your question, Jay? Add this UI5 inspector tool and that will give you exact object which it is used.
Yeah, thanks, Anubhav. And the next question, like I found out it's a shell control and I tried implementing in my UI5 application, but it doesn't looks good.
Yes, I'll show you quickly how the shell looks. It doesn't look, it will get some padding on the left and right side. I'll just quickly show you guys since you asked this question. Let me go back. I can come down, and this component container I'm going to add inside a shell, and that shell I'm going to add here. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to just add a shell. It has a content, I guess. I hope so. Inside that I've added my component container shell. I'm putting in the DOM, and I can come back, refresh. Okay, content is not right aggregation. Let me just go and check your SDK API documentation for shell control. SAP and shell control. Let's go to aggregations. It is app. It is app actually. So let's come here. It's aggregation, not content aggregation. And now just come back and refresh. You can see this is now running inside a shell. You can check the DOM. You will find it. Just go to UI5 inspector, and you can see now we've got a shell. Inside shell, we've got our container. So shell has now lots of properties to choose from, which you can use. But typically don't look at any app because they are typically launched in a launchpad. They are launched by launchpad. You see on the top this thing? This is actually a shell. Launchpad is a shell actually. अभी बहुत सीखना है. You got to learn a lot still. This is covered in my launchpad concept, the shell control in detail. Okay.
Okay, Anubhav, so this will be displayed instead of the home page, right? In the current screen, in the previous screen. The shell control will be displayed instead of the home page.
No. Shell control is used to embed the other screen inside. So the whole app is now running inside a shell. Okay. It's running inside a shell now. This whole app is running inside a shell actually. No home page.
Okay.
No home page here. It's not a home page.
Okay.
Launchpad.
So Anubhav, you're saying that app is being encapsulated inside the shell the way it's written over
yes,
here?
you see that this is what is happening. The whole app is now inside a shell control. Now shell gives a lot of features like, if you can go to the shell, look at its properties. You see background color, you can change title. I can add a title for the shell. So let me add a title for the shell. You've got to explore it in UI5 SDK. Now I just go and give a title to the shell. Welcome. Comma. Refresh. It should come ideally. It's not coming. I don't know why. Something is wrong. Ideally, it should have come. So maybe it's hidden behind. You see this little blue bar on the top. It's not bringing the title actually. So, but ideally it should come. Let me use SAP UI unified shell. Let me. Was it unified shell? I'm not sure. You have to explore that SAP UI unified shell. Yes.
Yeah, I used like unified shell, Anubhav. So it's showing like 3 lines instead of the home page. It's a button kind of control is coming with 3 lines.
Right.
If you go to SDK and search in samples.
Correct. And now you see you have head items. You can add a header item. You can add an end item. You can add a search field on the shell on the top. You can add a username. What aggregations it has? It doesn't have an aggregation for all the content area. I think I'm not sure. You have to try that out. So like this, there are controls. By the way, this is deprecated. You see, should not use it. Should not use it. It's deprecated.
Okay.
So that's something. It's just a control, guys. Shell is nothing magical. It's just a control, just like any other control. It is used for certain purpose to display header, display this toolbar, which is actually now being done by Launchpad. We don't need it. In old days when Launchpad was not there, we used to need the shell to bring this top toolbar. You see this top toolbar? How it is coming? It's coming because of shell. Okay. Shell.
So Anubhav, if any function is deprecated, we shouldn't extend it, right? or try to bring it back?
Because SAP can anytime make it obsolete also. They are first making it deprecated, then they are removing it completely.
But if you want to use anything like old control, if you want to, you can always extend it, right? Like to get that functionality back if you want.
Deprecated control you should not also extend, ideally, because we don't know future about those controls, right? We don't know future. Tomorrow if SAP remove, you have extended it, you have a base class extending it. Base class itself is removed. The whole thing is gone, right? So not use at all, neither extension nor for any other purpose. Deprecated control. And if you find you have a uses of deprecated control, try to find an alternate. You will always get alternate. Whew. I guess I'm done for the day. Let's not take further questions. If you have any questions, you can shoot me an email. Venkatesh, I really cannot support until I get an OData access from you. You have to give me your company OData access and your project, then only I can work on it. Okay. Otherwise, it is difficult for me to connect and change your code in your system. Anybody free to support Venkat today? Anybody would like to do a screen sharing with Venkat after the class and support him for his issue? It will be a good experience for you. Anyone wants to volunteer to just check? So Monica, yeah, Monica, you are one of my best students. So Venkatesh, I will give you Monica's contact, or Monica and Venkatesh, I will just cross send an email to both of you. Just contact each other, sit together and see if your issue can be solved. Fine. Is that okay, Venkatesh? We cannot hear you anyway. I will send you the email right after the class, Venkatesh. Okay. To Monica, keeping you in CC. Both of you can get in touch together and just check. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Anubhav. Thanks for the UI5 inspector.
Yeah, sure. Prasoon, just send me the email. I'll check it. Project base do, sir. Okay.
Sure, no. Sure.